We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
Political winds blow both fair and foul, and it's often timing that determines success or failure. Just one of the themes on today's action-packed edition. Welcome back to Liberty Nation Radio here on the Radio America Network. I'm your host, Mark Angelides. On today's show, we're examining Kevin McCarthy's hopes for the speakership, Sam Bankman-Fried's Democrat donations, and a whole lot more. I want to take a moment to say a special thank you to our listeners out in Hastings, Michigan on WBCH 1220 AM and 93.1 FM. Thank you for being here. Remember, this show is proudly sponsored by LibertyNation.com, where you can access podcasts, breaking news, analysis, and a range of biting and brilliant shows to whet your appetite for freedom and your fondness for the great American Constitution. As current Minority House Leader Kevin McCarthy attempts to seize the Speaker top spot, a razor-thin majority and some significant holdouts could imperil his hopes and dreams of becoming Nancy Pelosi 2.0. Now, we're joined by longtime host of this here Liberty Nation radio show and Liberty Nation's senior political analyst, Mr. Tim Donner, to see if the pathway still holds for McCarthy and what pitfalls lie ahead. Thanks for coming in, Tim.
Always a pleasure, Mark.
So tell me, is Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy, is it a done deal or not?
It's not a done deal yet, although the alternative seems to be unspeakable because there's no viable opponent for him to run for Speaker within the Republican caucus. So he's going to have to satisfy the demands of the most conservative members of the House in order to get their votes, which he needs. He needs 218, and he's only got 221 members who can vote. So, you know, it seemed, if there was one thing that seemed clear, Mark, about the election ahead of time, was that if the Republicans won the House, Kevin McCarthy would certainly be Speaker. And even that certainty is not inevitable now because he is being blamed for the midterm. Well, some are calling it a meltdown, but at least the disappointment of winning a mere 9 seats when he was supposed to win 20 to 30. He's being blamed for that. There's questions about his leadership. There's questions about his ability to herd the cats. Like Nancy Pelosi has. I mean, Nancy Pelosi, give her credit for knowing how to twist arms. McCarthy has never demonstrated that skill. So there's a lot of enduring questions about Kevin McCarthy.
Well, let's discuss those holdouts within the Republican Party, the Republicans who are standing in Kevin McCarthy's way. Obviously, they're proposing, I believe, or they're supporting, there's 4 or 5 of them, they're supporting Representative Andy Biggs, I believe, but they're asking for certain concessions in order to support McCarthy. And what are those concessions? What leverage do they want to apply?
Well, probably the primary demand which McCarthy should be able to meet is more members of the Freedom Caucus on the House Rules Committee, because that's a very powerful committee, of course. Now, there's 41 people in the Freedom Caucus, and, you know, that represents a good 20% of the entire Republican caucus. They've also, you know, they want more of their members on there. They also want, which something that seems to be entirely reasonable, 72 hours to read the text of a bill before they're forced to vote on it.
I wanted to delve into this particular one, Tim, because I read that in your recent article on LibertyNation.com, which the sponsor of this show, which details the trials and tribulations of Kevin McCarthy, and 72 hours to read a bill. As you say, that is not unreasonable, especially seeing as some of these bills are hundreds, if not thousands of pages long.
It should be longer than 72 hours. I think the reason leadership doesn't want it to be any longer is because the more someone reads and the longer they take, the more objections mount, and that makes it difficult for the leader. I
mean, another way to look at that, Tim, is the more you read, the more you know. And it's
That's
entirely possible to, I mean, we've seen it, haven't we? Stuffing pork into all these bills. If people don't get to read the bills, then you
It
can
used to
stuff in what
be
you want.
it used to be shocking to people that Nancy Pelosi would say about Obamacare, we have to pass the bill to find out what's in the bill. That was shocking at first. Now it's become, a fact of life. Everybody
It's still a
knows that
shocking
members
fact
of
of life.
Congress don't read the
Yeah.
legislation that they're expected to vote on. I mean, how many times do you sign a contract that you don't know what's in it? Well, frankly, all of us do. Terms and conditions,
Terms and
conditions of every, kind of purchase that we make or online service. The difference is this stuff goes into the law of the land. And there needs to be, look, the process was never designed to be expeditious. It was designed to be deliberate.
Yeah.
It was designed to have major changes in the structure of the country, the government, happen slowly and deliberately with great consensus. I think the bottom line is that essentially the Freedom Caucus wants to run the Republican caucus, and they have the numbers to do it. There's 41 members in that caucus, and they hold tremendous weight with a teetering figure like Kevin McCarthy, who's working with a tiny majority. And they know. And of course, it's good politics to use your leverage when you have it. If the Republicans had won, say, 25, 30 seats, McCarthy would be in a much stronger position to dictate the terms of his speakership. But under current circumstances, when he's largely blamed with his commitment to America that fell flat, with the fact that only 9 seats were flipped, he's not in a position of strength.
Isn't there a small but significant risk that Democrats could seize the speakership?
I think most people are not aware of the fact that to be Speaker of the House, you don't have to be a member of the majority party. You don't even have to be a member of Congress. I mean, they could pick you to be Speaker of the House, Mark.
And here begins my campaign, Tim Donner.
But they could make me or anybody the Speaker of the House because the Constitution specifies that the House will elect its leaders.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say it has to be from the majority and has to be from the lower chamber or the upper chamber or anything else. So, of course, the Democrats are enjoying this greatly, this cleavage that is developing in the Republican Party. So they've gone as far as to say, hey, we would vote for Liz Cheney if you want to bring her forward, because that really gets in the craw of Republicans. Now, the problem is, though, they can joke about that, but if they can't get 218 votes for McCarthy, then the Democrats, by necessity, get involved in the selection of the Speaker, because it's the Speaker of the entire House, not just the majority party. So everybody gets to vote. Ordinarily, both parties present a candidate, and the one from the majority party almost always wins. In this case, they'll throw out the rules because Democrats are going to exploit perhaps the most vulnerable speaker of this century, I think, because he doesn't have the policy bona fides of a guy like Paul Ryan, nor the arm-twisting skills of Nancy Pelosi, nor a definable ideology that sort of attracts support strictly for his beliefs.
So anybody's game to go. Tim Donner, thanks ever so much for joining us. And we'll be back with Tim Donner right after this short break, talking good news for the Senate GOP in 2024. Don't go anywhere. We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides. Entertaining, informative, and just plain fun. Watch Liberty Nation's The Conservative 5. produced by conservatives for conservatives. C5's The Left Free Zone, hosted by Liberty Nation's Lisa K. Donner, joined by a raucous, irreverent panel of authors, deconstructing leftist narratives, debating the hot topics, and remembering to laugh. Join the official conservative safe
You only
space.
did that to piss Jeff off.
Liberty Nation's The Conservative Five.